Warstock Cash and Carry is the place to go to fulfill all of your militarized and weaponized vehicle needs in GTA Online. But with so many options available, some may be left wondering, what vehicle should they pick up? And that's why today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 best vehicles from Warstock Cash and Carry. But before we get into it, I would just like to remind you all that I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2025, and any help in getting there will be very much appreciated. And finally, I will not be including any vehicles like the Cassette car on this list because that is just boring. With all that being said, let's get into the list. And starting off the list, in number 5, we have the Deluxo. And this vehicle costs a whopping $5.75 million. Now a lot of people might disagree with this pick, but I don't really understand why. Because personally, I love every single thing about the Deluxo. And a big part of my love for the Deluxo comes from the Back to the Future franchise, which I absolutely adore. But getting back to the vehicle now, the weapons on this thing are really good. The missiles are incredible, some of the best in the entire game. When it comes to movement, I really enjoy the Deluxo's moveset, but a lot of people do complain about the speed, but I don't really see a problem there. You can get from A to B relatively fast, and for me that's just not an issue at all. The machine guns on this aren't that great, but considering how bad machine guns are in this game, that's not really an issue. Now, one of the areas where I would actually admit that the Deluxo is lacking is in customization. There isn't that much that you can really do with it. And I wish that there were more options because this is a really cool vehicle, and if you can make it look better, then this vehicle would be more loved by a lot more people. But even with this lack of customization, you can still make this car look quite cool. Now personally, I like my design the all blacked out, but there are many other designs that I have seen that are also really cool. So if you are going to pick this thing up, or if you do, you might want to check out some online customization guides and make your Deluxo look even better. So yeah, overall, the Deluxo is a great vehicle, and I definitely think that it's worth its price tag. But let's move on to our number 4. And we have the Oppressor Mark 1. And that's right, I'm glazing it once again. For those who don't know, the Mark 1 features in almost every single vehicle's list. But that's for a good reason. It is the best vehicle in the whole game, the most underrated vehicle in the whole game. And if you don't use this thing, you are missing out. And if you don't have this thing, go pick it up right now, because this just makes your entire GTA experience so much better. You will have so much fun with this thing. It is such a fun vehicle, and yeah, it'll make your experience with this game so much more enjoyable. But let's actually talk about the vehicle. And firstly, it costs $2.75 million. And compared to the rest of the vehicles on this list, that is actually quite cheap. But what makes the Mark 1 so great? And why is it so much better than the Mark 2? Well, let me tell you. Firstly, is that it actually requires skill to use. Not every single player can just hop on this and dominate a session. You need to be training with this thing, you need to be experienced with it, you need to understand how this thing works. You cannot just randomly hop on it and expect to dominate a session, because that simply just won't happen. And if you want to be better than everyone else in your lobby, you need to understand how the movement of this thing works, because once you have it down to a T, you will have so much fun with this vehicle. Because when you have the movement down, PvP in this thing is so incredibly fun and so much better and so much more enjoyable than that shitty Mark II. And it is really sad to see how underutilized this vehicle is, because it is so good, and I just wish every single player would have it. I am going to go on and on about how much I love this thing until I actually see people using it. Because this is my favourite vehicle in the entire game, and please just do yourself a favour and go pick this up. And let's revive the Oppressor Mark 1. And in third place, we have the Scramjet. And similarly to the Mark 1, this is also one of the most fun vehicles in the entire game. Now, to actually pick this thing up, you're going to have to pay a hefty $4 million. But for what you're actually getting, I would say it's value for money. Because, as I said before, this vehicle is just so much fun. And I highly recommend this vehicle to anyone who loves a good stunt, because as soon as you get this thing, you're going to be trying all kinds of crazy stunts. Now, moving on to its weaponry. The homing missiles are very effective, but you do have to be careful not to blow yourself up. Once again, the machine guns on this are pretty shit, but that is standard for any kind of vehicle like this, so once again, it's not really a problem. In regards to customization, you can make this look so cool in so many different ways. I've seen so many scramjets and a lot of them look so unique and so different, so there are a lot of different ways you can customize it. Mine looks really goofy, but it looks like a Hot Wheels car, so I do really like it. But this is quite a silly car, so I feel like making it look silly is kind of just part of it, you know? Like, you can't really have a car like this and try to make it look really good. You should make it look a bit stupid because that's just part of it. Now, the biggest failing of the scramjet, and I'm sure you've heard this stereotype, it is a water magnet. It is true. No matter where you fly, you always land in a pool of water. So just be wary of that. But overall, scramjet, it's a great vehicle. And even though it is very expensive, I do think it's completely worth the money. But with all that being said, let's move on to my number 2. And here we have the F-160 Raiju. And this is one of the most expensive vehicles in the entire game. And I definitely think it's the most expensive weaponized aircraft. Because to get this, you have to pay a staggering $6.85 million. Now, a lot of people hate the Raiju, including me. I've made my dislike for it very clear. Hell, I've even made a video highlighting all the things that I hate about it. But even I can't doubt its dominance, its abilities, because this is the best aircraft in the entire game. But let's actually talk a bit more about the vehicle. Now, this thing is incredibly fast. I mean, you can pretty much outrun any missile, so you don't even have to be that talented to dodge any missiles. Just fly in a straight line, you'll probably avoid it. Its weaponry is pretty standard for the type of vehicle that it is. But by far, the most overpowered aspect of this vehicle is that it has the ability to go completely off radar whenever you want. This gives you an advantage in almost every single situation you find yourself in, because you can practically just hit and run any single player and get away with it. You can kill a player and they won't even know what hit them. They won't even know that you were there. And to give a vehicle that outclasses every other aircraft an ability like this is simply just unfair. Another broken aspect of the Raiju is its VTOL, because the VTOL on the Raiju is different to the VTOL on, say, a Hydra. And having this ability gives you a big advantage in any air combat you may find yourself in. But yeah, on a whole, this shit is actually just broken. Like, they really need to nerf this thing. It is just so much better than any other aircraft in the game. I mean, you have to be a very skilled pilot to take down one of these, unless the pilot who's piloting the Raiju is an absolute idiot. And I'll be honest, I'm a pretty dog-ass pilot, and I do struggle quite a lot against these. But when you are able to kill it, it is one of the most satisfying kills that you can get in the whole of GTA Online. So yeah, despite that ridiculous price tag, the Raiju is worth every single penny. So definitely make sure to pick this up. But now, moving on to our number 1, we have the Toreador. Now, I've only had this vehicle for quite a small period of time, maybe only a few months. But I have to say, in my time that I've had it, it has been an absolute joy. I have had so much fun with this vehicle. And to be honest, everything about it is just quality. From its appearance to its performance, it is just perfection. Now, to buy this thing, you're going to have to pay $4.25 million. But I would happily pay double because this vehicle is just so good. When it comes to weapons, its missiles are absolutely class, and they are a great way of dealing with Mark IIs. In fact, the Toreador is the number 1 vehicle in my opinion for dealing with oppressor Mark IIs, as it just makes the whole process so much less tedious and so much easier. The machine guns on this thing are pretty standard, just like the rest of the vehicles on this list, but as I've said, machine guns in this game are very weak, so once again, not an issue at all. And unlike quite a lot of vehicles on this list, the Toreador actually has the ability to tank some missiles. And I believe it can take up to 3 RPG missiles, which, all things considered, is pretty good. Now, something I absolutely love about this car is its performance. It is so easy to handle in my opinion. Even whilst boosting, you can just keep such a good control over the car, and it rarely spins out even whilst boosting, so that's a big plus. And yeah, the car's performance overall is just incredible. But let's talk a bit about its customization. And to be honest, even though the customization is pretty basic, you can make this car look so beautiful in so many ways. and most of the Terraridors that I actually encounter in game are a thing of beauty. But let's move on and talk about one of its most underrated features, and the feature in question is its submarine mode. Now this feature is heavily overlooked by most of the people in GTA Online, and that is simply due to the fact that hardly anyone ever goes in the water. And this feature is just another thing that makes a Terraridor so special. And the car is just incredible. Make sure you have one of these. It is so good, and it is the best vehicle on Warstock. So yeah, that's my list. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What cars do you feel that I've missed out? Please make sure to let me know. And as always, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and help me hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We are getting very close to the halfway point of this goal, and I know that we can do it. But with all that being said, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.